Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3623. Today's date is 4th of October 2025. It's been almost like a morning at 8:15 a.m. All right, should we jump into the question? All right, let's go. Okay, question is where it is. Okay, what if renewable energy was 100% efficient? Oh, that's a really good question. Okay. All right. First of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question? This is what if question. Am I asking this question to myself is because of that ki what if question is always been something really amazing to give the answer. Amazing. It feels really good. It feels something. I don't know how do I supposed to explain. It's a kind of like a things that na, ki your class teacher is kind of like a simply force you to draw something even if you can't draw anything, still you are kind of like a simply trying to draw some sort of picture by pencil and yeah, this is what it is. This is what kind of like a what if question. What if question is kind of like simply construct such a reality regarding about that particular question, and sometimes it felt really good. It felt something that ki, it's all depend on how much you have knowledge regarding about that particular things and that, and even if you don't really have any knowledge, still you could give some sort of opinion regarding about that, and that is feel really good. Also, disclaimer: the information that I'm trying to tell you regarding about this question is not exactly right, or it's not exactly wrong either too. It's my thought process. It is my artifact. It is not like, it is raw, complete raw. Okay, yeah. So that's why it's kind of like a simply raw and kind of like a simply unfiltered. It's not verified. It's not right, and it's not even wrong either. It just in itself. It just artifact. It just, yeah. Don't really kind of like a thing that it's a kind of like a simply legit information. No, nothing like that at all. All right. So let's jump right into it. Now, question is that what if renewable energy was 100% efficient? Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question? What is exactly renewable energy? Renewable energy means like that ki the energy that we could renew. Okay, renew like a renew. Okay, so do you understand? Renew means you can create more. Okay, yeah, this kind of like a energy that you could create more, that is called renewable energy. Okay, yeah. So what is exactly renewable energy? Is oil is the renewable energy? No, we cannot create oil, so oil is not renewable energy. Coal is renewable energy? No, we cannot create coal, so coal is not renewable energy. It's not renewable energy. Okay, yeah, get it? So all the kind of like a something energy that we have at the moment, that we could think like a coal and oil and natural gases, these are not a renewable energy. These are non-renewable energy. Means we cannot non-renew energy. Those are non-renew energy. Okay, you understand this point is very much essential. Okay, yeah. Get it? Non-renewable energy. Now, what is actually renewable energy? The energy that we could create new. What is actually that? A solar. Okay, a solar farm, wind energy. These are kind of like a something energy. There are multiple energy like a tidal wave. We could kind of like generate electricity from tidal wave, and there are a lot of stuff. Hydrocarbon, nahin, hydrothermal energy. Okay, yeah, dams. These are kind of like some renewable energy too. Okay, so basically, is this thing? What is exactly that, and how like I don't really understand the question. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me tell you one thing. First of all, you just have to understand the couple of thing: renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Non-renewable energy means like that we cannot renew coal and oil and natural gases. These are non-renewable energy. the sunlight, the wind, the tidal, these are renewable energy. That means we could create new energy. All right, are you clear with that thing? Okay, yeah. Now let's talk about efficient. What is exactly efficient? Efficient means like that ki you are kind of like a something 100% efficient, means like that 100% efficiency means what, means what exactly is this thing? Okay, yeah. Let's just say that he you have a kind of like a something, let's just say you have like a your favorite drink, let's just say Red Bull. My favorite drink is not Red Bull, by the way. Till now I haven't really consumed Red Bull at the moment. Okay, yeah, at the moment, like I haven't really done that, like I haven't really drink it, so I don't know about Red Bull, but I just heard about it so many times. So yeah, okay, so let's just think that your favorite beverages is Red Bull. Okay, yeah. By the way, in India, Red Bull costs so much, almost like a 200 rupees for can. It's not practically efficient way to kind of like a simply buy that Red Bull. But still, okay, example, Red Bull. Okay, yeah. So you bought the Red Bull can. Now you kind of like a drink whatever the liquid inside it. Okay, yeah. You are kind of like a drink entirely. You don't really spill. You don't really spill any kind of like a single drop anywhere at all. You just drink from 0 to 100% directly. It went to your mouth to get like basically it just doesn't really spill at all. So the 100% efficient means like that ki you consume the entire amount of energy and you don't really kind of like a spill anywhere. Spill means like that wasted. You don't really waste anywhere at all. So that is called 100% efficiency. By the way, it's not 100% efficiency, but from the visual point of perspective, you have to understand that ki whatever you drink, everything like basically you like your mother makes your favorite kind of like a sorry nashta, make dosa. Okay, yeah, let's just like basically I just ate dosa. Okay, yeah. So your mother make dosa. Okay, yeah, and you ate entire of it. Okay, you don't really kind of like left out anything at all because you love the dosa and you ate that dosa entirely. So you ate your dosa 100% efficiently, means like that you don't really spill anywhere, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. By the way, from human point of perspective, this is kind of like a somebody consider as 100% efficiency, but science point of perspective, that is not. Okay, yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing: when you drink Red Bull, you think that you drink it all and your efficiency is actually 100%, but that is wrong. Because when you kind of like take out that Red Bull can from out, and basically is this thing because of condensation happened outside the can, it is a kind of like a water droplet is actually happened, and that water droplet is kind of like considered as a kind of like a little bit of kind of like a loss of energy. Okay, yeah. By the way, it doesn't really loss of kind of like a some liquid inside it, but kind of like a some loss of energy, because the Red Bull drink is kind of like a somebody cold when it in the freezer, but when you take out and when you try to drink, then probably the temperature might kind of like somebody just not less than like basically is not less than freezer, so basically it became a little bit of warm. I mean, that means you kind of like a little bit of spill some sort of energy. Okay, yeah. But as a human point of perspective, we don't really consider that, like basically we just drink it. Okay, yeah. Same thing example with the tea. Okay, yeah. Like basically is this thing, you went to kind of like a somebody, you went to kind of like a something tapri or things like that, chai wala amrutulya. Okay, yeah. And you kind of like ate the cha, sorry, not ate the cha. Okay, you drink the cha, but it's not actually drink the cha, but still you take the cha, you take the tea. Okay, yeah. Now you take the tea, and obviously is this thing, you kind of like a basically you complete that tea, right? Like basically the cup will be kind of like completely empty, right? So your efficient is actually 100%. Okay, yeah. So first of all, let's just understand couple of things for this question. Renewable energy means like that sunlight, wind, everything. Okay, these are kind of like a renewable energy. Okay, yeah. Now efficiency means like that the way that I'm told you regarding about tea, coffee, Red Bull, and kind of like a dosa and things like that. These are kind of like a something efficient, 100% efficiency. Do you get it? Those points, these are very essential to understand. All right. Okay, yeah. Now let's proceed further. Now, achieving like basically is this thing. I ate 100% dosa. I ate like I drink entirely tea. I kind of like a drink entire Red Bull. So basically, my efficiency is actually 100% regarding about drinking any kind of like a consumption of any kind of like a somebody dosa or Red Bull or tea. I just did it. Like basically, my efficiency is actually 100%. Yeah, from your point of perspective, you are right, right? But as a science point of perspective, that is not. Because let me tell you one thing, efficiency, like achieving 100% efficiency is very kind of like a simply not possible. Like it's not possible. There is a always some sort of kind of like a some spill or loss of energy happen. Okay, 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 still not really understand. How does that thing happen? How does kind of like some loss of energy actually happen? The loss of energy, same thing, yeah. Take a kind of like a tea. You took the tea, okay, yeah. You didn't drink, you didn't take it for at least like a 15 minute. After the 15 minute, you are kind of like a taking the tea, but the tea became colder. Why it actually happened? It because of happened that key, thermodynamics, right? Yeah. So basically, the energy actually transfer from one to another. Okay, yeah. So that's why loss of energy, right? Like basically the tea that you bought is hot, but right now its tea is cold. So loss of energy. Same thing happened with the Red Bull. You bought the Red Bull, you kind of like a didn't drink it for at least like a half an hour. Within a half an hour, the drink would be just doesn't really feel cold. It just mellow and things like that. Loss of energy. Oh yeah. So loss of energy is actually happened when you not use it, right? Well, that is not exactly right either. Okay, yeah. Loss of energy is not only just kind of like if you didn't really use it. Sometimes loss of energy is actually started when we are started using it. Example, you fuel, like you basically you put the fuel in your car, in your bike, right? Yeah. And when you kind of like a start the car, start the bike and things like that, you feel little bit of warm in outside your engine. How this thing is actually happened? The fuel is converted into the engine, it converted into heat and kind of like a some motion and things like that. And when the energy is actually kind of like a some convert from one to another, like a basically energy from kind of like a fuel to electricity to motion to things and that, when it kind of like a somebody change its energy, it create heat. That means loss of energy. Do you understand this point? Okay, yeah. Do you get it? Like this is kind of like a very essential to understand that key you loss of some sort of energy. Okay, yeah. And this is actually happen in everywhere. Everywhere. Okay, yeah. So let me tell you one thing. Cannot actually you cannot kind of like achieve 100% efficient. You cannot, as a science point of perspective, yeah, you cannot. What do you mean by you cannot? Like basically there is a something that you could do. No, there is a like basically this thing, energy is neither be created nor be destroyed, it just transfer from one place to another place. Thermodynamics first law, right? So basically is this thing, what is actually this law is actually kind of like a telling me, this law is actually telling me that key the energy that actually in the universe is not destroy, is not born, it's as it is always. It just change its shape and size and property from one to another. That's it. It just not change. Okay, but I don't really understand either. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let me give you kind of like a some little bit of context. Okay, yeah. Um, what is exactly that I'm trying to tell you? I don't know. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to kind of like explain the law, but I didn't really kind of like assembly get the kind of like assembly. Like I don't really found any kind of like assembly example associated with this particular law. Probably whatever. Okay, so let's just talk about 100% efficiency. Okay, yeah. So you cannot achieve 100% efficiency in anywhere at all. Okay, yeah. But still, we could kind of like assembly imagine. We could kind of like create that reality that what if we could achieve 100% efficiency from non-renewable sources. Okay, yeah. Okay, okay. Now I'm kind of like a bit really confused. Okay, yeah. Like basically is this thing. Okay, still not get it now. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's quite an easy to not get it. Okay, yeah. Let's just understand in simple form. Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned, okay, yeah, achieving 100% efficiency is like a basically it's not possible because loss of energy is always happen in very very less amount, but it always happen. It always happen. Okay, yeah. But um, let's just take a kind of like a some simple example. Okay, yeah, that this kind of like a fuel that we are burning, which is almost like a 99.99% efficient, not 100% efficient, 99.99% efficient. And what is that energy that we are using? The LPG gas cylinder, methane. Oh yeah, methane is really really good at very efficient way. Okay, it means that the when you kind of like actually burn the LPG, sorry, not the LPG, don't really burn LPG, do not do that. Okay, it might kind of like a very catastrophic event gonna happen. Okay, don't burn the LPG. Okay, yeah. um Connect the LPG with the kind of like a hose, okay, with the pipe and things like that. Okay, yeah. So that methane gas would kind of like assembly transfer from LPG to kind of like assembly your gas, and then you kind of like assembly fire the gas. That gas, like basically the fire, look blue. Okay, yeah. You actually seen that thing. Okay, yeah. Like basically from your gas, the fire looks blue. The blue fire is represent 100% efficiency, like not 100%, yeah, like basically there is some sort of like a spill happen. Okay, yeah, like a basically almost like a 99.99% efficiency, not 100% efficient, but still probably it's blue, means like that 99.99% that fuel is actually burning. That's why the fire, the color of the fire is blue. Okay, yeah. When the color of the fire is kind of like a some yellow and orange, that means the fuel is not properly burning, and that's why it kind of like a some show this kind of like a some color. Okay, yeah. So let me tell you one thing: the color of the fire, it kind of like a determine the how much fuel, like a how much efficiency of the fuel. In this particular example, LPG gases is kind of like a simply use almost like a 99.99% efficient. Why am I say this thing like 99? Why not is actually 100% efficient? Okay, as I mentioned, okay, yeah, there is always loss of energy, always, like always, like you can prevent everything, but there is a always loss of energy. How? Like basically same thing example na, like basically you burn the kind of like assembly gas. Okay, yeah. Now what you have to do, you kind of like assembly increase the kind of like assembly fire length, like basically to its maximum potential. Okay, yeah. So when it kind of like assembly maximum, the length of the fire is kind of like assembly very exceed. Okay, yeah. And at the top you kind of like a realize a different color of fire, a yellow kind of like assembly fire. Okay, yeah. At the kind of like at the beginning, means like that kind of like a fire is actually started from the beginning is blue. Okay, yeah, it's blue, but when it kind of like reach to the top, it kind of like a something bit yellow. Do the experiment in your, you have a gas by the way. Okay, yeah, you have a gas, LPG gas, just do this thing. Okay, yeah. Do not put anything over there. Okay, do not put any kind of like a somebody the plate or kind of like a tawa or ganza. Don't do that. Just let that kind of like a somebody fire flows. Okay, yeah. You kind of like a somebody realize that ki kind of like a somebody the fire is kind of like a somebody started from blue, and at the top it kind of like a became really yellow means loss of energy. Okay, yeah. So that means almost like a 99.99% is efficient, 100% not efficient, because there is some sort of loss of energy is actually happening. Okay, get it? All right, now you have to understand this thing. Now achieving 100% efficiency is something that, like basically it's very hard to achieve that 100% efficiency. Now let's talk about renewable energy sources. Okay, yeah. Renewable energy sources, like we have kind of like a some the solar panel. UI, like did you see solar panel? It's like like I can see like a basically there is in front of me there is solar panel. Like basically I'm belong to the India, and there is a all so many rooftop actually covered with the solar power. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let me give you the context. Okay, yeah. Solar power is kind of like a something, I'm not gonna tell you regarding about how the mechanism thing is actually happen and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna try to tell you. Okay, yeah. Let's just do the kind of like a simple example to understand the mechanism. All right, yeah. uh, I am not really sure where are you living. Okay, if you are probably living in Europe or US, then probably you might not gonna feel that much. But if you are living in India or kind of like a some equator zone of country, like a basically Brazil, Africa, or like a, yeah, or India, okay, then you actually kind of like a feel. Okay, what kind of like a some experiment that you have to do? Wear black outfit, black pant, black shirt, and black things. Okay, yeah. In summer you have to go outside at the afternoon at almost like a 1 p.m. Okay, yeah. You feel burn, you feel hot, you feel like, oh my god, because black color is accumulated energy, accumulated heat. Okay, yeah. It's simple fact, by the way. Okay, and don't tell me about this how the black color is only kind of like only consume the energy. Because black color is okay. Okay, let me give you the context. Okay, uh, basically is this thing, there are multiples of color. Okay, the color that we are actually seeing is kind of like a something the difference, like a basically it's like basically there are kind of like a so many waves. Okay, yeah. But there is a kind of like a I'm not really sure, there is a gamma and there is a infrared. Okay, yeah. So in between that kind of like spectrum, that spectrum that we could see, and we could see the color. Oh yeah. Okay, don't get it. Okay, this is a very kind of like a very complicated topic. Okay, yeah. What I'm trying to tell you, in this particular spectrum, okay, yeah, the black color is not included. Okay. Okay, what do you mean by black color is not actually included? Okay, yeah. So in the color segment, okay, also I'm not really kind of like assembly giving the exact right information. Okay, I'm not really sure the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right. If you can verify, you can verify. Okay, yeah. If you wanted to kind of like assembly give me any kind of like assembly harsh say that you are saying something really wrong, just do it. Okay, huh? But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that at the moment I'm kind of like giving this information. I'm not really sure that information is really right or wrong, but still, okay, I'm trying to give it to you. Okay, yeah. There is a two color are missing in this kind of like assembly, the visual spectrum. Okay, what are the two color? Black and white. Okay, we cannot see those color. Like basically in the kind of like assembly visible spectrum, there is no black and there is no white color. Okay, but these are very essential color, na? These are like a very very essential color. Well, black and white are not the essential color probably. Okay, yeah. White color is a combination of all color. Okay, yeah. And black color is the absence of all color. Okay, get it? Like basically is this thing, every color kind of like a represents some sort of property. It kind of like a represent, it kind of like a somebody reflect some sort of kind of like a somebody wavelength. Okay, yeah. Okay, what is exactly is this thing, what is exactly that? Okay, yeah. Now I'm trying to kind of like give you a kind of like a really simple example. Okay, yeah. You went to kind of like a ghost house. Okay, yeah. Just imagine you are went to ghost house at night at 2:30 a.m. Okay, yeah. Entirely completely dark. There is you cannot see anything at all, just nothing. You have only one flashlight. Okay, yeah. Now what exactly happened? Okay, yeah, when you kind of like simply fire the flashlight, not fire the turn on the flashlight. Okay, yeah, you actually seen the whatever is actually kind of like a simply flashlight is kind of like a simply try to lit. Okay, like basically you point out the flashlight into the mirror, then basically mirror can reflect and things like that. Get it? Now understand this concept. Okay, understand the concept. Okay, yeah. In the entire dark room, okay, yeah, you didn't really see the mirror, but soon as you kind of like simply fire the flashlight, you actually seen the mirror. And not only you could see the mirror, you could see you also. You could see there is a ghost behind you. A kind of like a imaginary, but you could see the ghost behind you, and as also you could see little bit of surrounding around the mirror and kind of like a little bit surrounding kind of like a things that. Now how these things actually happen, how these things actually happen. Okay, basically let's just try to compare like couple of things. Okay, like instead of going to the mirror, let's just go to the kind of like a just a, okay, let's just say I didn't point out the mirror, I didn't point out the flashlight to the mirror, I kind of like a point out the flashlight into the kind of like a non-reflective things like sofa or kind of like a wall or things like that. Okay, yeah. When you point out the flashlight into that particular sofa or wall or things like that, how you see that particular wall or kind of like a sofa and things like that, I seen because of the light rays is actually kind of like a started from your flashlight, bounced to that wall or sofa, and it kind of like a went directly to your eyes, and that's why you are kind of like a creating this image. Okay, yeah, all right, get it. Okay, but why am I seeing the color? Like basically, why I'm seeing the wall of the color is kind of like a little bit of kind of like a misty, and the wall of sofa is little bit of brown. Why am I seeing those color? Oh yeah. I seen those color is because of that ki the kind of like somebody it reflect only those color. Okay, it kind of like somebody reflect those color. Now what is exactly is this thing, what is actually reflect those color means what? Okay, yeah, like basically I don't know about kind of like only how the things actually happen regarding about that, but when you kind of like a point out the flashlight into some sort of object or some sort of thing, the color of that particular object only emit the color that kind of like somebody made of that, like basically is this thing, like basically the wall of the kind of like a the wall is kind of like a color is a white, then probably you kind of like a somethingly see the white color. Okay, yeah. Okay, but I'm not really understand. Okay, yeah, let me give you the context. Okay, yeah. As I mentioned that key white color is a combination of all color, right? Yeah. So if I point out the my flashlight into the wall, then probably the color of the wall is I'm kind of like a seeing the white. So basically what exactly happened that basically all the color that it reflect, yeah. Okay, if I point out flashlight towards kind of like a something here, like let's just say sofa which is brown in color. Okay, yeah. So basically what exactly happen, all the kind of like a color is absorb and kind of like a simply only brown color that I would see. I'm not really sure it's absorb, but it kind of like a something that the rest of the color is I don't know what exactly happened with the rest of the color. Okay, yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, but probably is this thing that color that we are actually seeing is brown is because of that the color that the sofa is actually reflecting the brown color. That's why you actually seen the color of the sofa is actually brown color. Okay, get it. Now you go into the mirror. Oh yeah, go into the mirror. Now you actually point out the flash towards the mirror. So what kind of like a stuff that you could see? Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is very crazy thing. Okay, yeah. Now like at the moment, like there are a bunch of objects, those are kind of like a reflecting kind of like something here colors. Okay, yeah. But when you point a flashlight towards the mirror, then in this particular situation this might be a very crazy. Okay, also let me tell you the surrounding situation, understand this thing first. Okay, yeah. Entire surroundings is completely dark, there is no light at all, nothing at all, completely dark at almost like a 2:30 at night. Okay, yeah. You are in that ghost house, you are completely alone and you just have only a flashlight. So this is the only source of flashlight that you have, only source of light that you have. Okay, and now you are pointing out the flashlight towards the mirror, then you could kind of like a seeing very differently. Okay, what exactly that you are gonna see? Okay, first of all is that when you suddenly point out the flashlight towards the mirror is actually reflecting that light towards you, everything, not just color but everything. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you, what kind of like a stuff that you could see. Okay, yeah, what kind of like a stuff that you see, the flashlight is kind of like a somebody just brighten up so much that it kind of like a somebody just you just kind of like a somebody kind of like a put little bit of hand in front of your eyes because the light is kind of like a somebody directly come at to you. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of in this particular situation the light is kind of like a reflect entirely to you, not just kind of like some color but intensity and everything. Okay, yeah. And also because of it kind of like a reflect, it kind of like a spill that light to somewhere else. And when it kind of like a spill, you kind of like illuminate that particular area. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki, when you try to point out the light towards the wall and things like that, like basically it does not kind of like simply illuminate that much area. Okay, yeah, same thing happened with the you when you point out the flashlight to a brown sofa, it does not illuminate that much area, but suddenly when you point out the light towards the mirror, it illuminates so much amount of area. Because of that, okay, what exactly happened, when you point out the light photon comes from flashlight to mirror it reflect to you, to surrounding, to your back, to everything, to ghost and things like that. Okay, yeah. And because of this thing happened, the basically this thing, the reflection actually happened, you kind of like illuminate so much amount of area. Okay, yeah, as compared to when you try to point out the lash towards the wall and kind of like a simply brown sofa and things like that, because a mirror can reflect almost like 100% efficiency of light. Okay, not 100%, kind of there is some sort of kind of like a light is kind of like a some spill, but get it. Okay, yeah. Dude, what? I am not really sure what I'm trying to tell you. It's been almost like a 31 minute. I'm just kind of like talking about shit. I just completely forgot that what is actually my point that I'm trying to tell. Oh my god. What I'm trying to tell you? What is actually? I'm trying to tell you that ki why black color is kind of like a simply accumulates so much amount of energy. That's why it kind of like a simply consumes so much amount of heat. This is kind of like a simply experience that you feel when you kind of like a wear completely black outfit into the kind of like a summer. Then you feel a little bit of warm. Okay. And what is this example? What is this example to resonate about that? You're trying to talk about kind of like a somebody the what kind of why the color is actually reflected and things like that. Okay, is it really is it really associated with the kind of like a stuff that I'm trying to explain? Uh, Almost like a 99% not, 1% yes. Oh my god, I'm fucked up shit, dude. Okay, like basically this thing, the point that I'm trying to tell you for last 10 minutes is nothing. It just no, there is no meaning at all. I am successfully wasted your 10 minutes for stupid shit, which is not even kind of like a right, but still. Okay. Oh, but you mentioned that ki black and white color are not present in the kind of like a visible spectrum and things like that. So, what is that latest thing? Just okay, just I'm not really sure. I don't know why, but white color is a combination of all color, and black color is the absence of all color. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, absence of all color, that means like that ki white color kind of like a reflect all the color. That's why it kind of like a something is this thing that ki combination of color. Okay, but black color is not kind of like a reflecting anything, so it's kind of like a only absence, so it kind of like a represent the absence of color. So when it kind of like a show the absence of color, that means it kind of like accumulated so much amount of energy, it kind of like accumulated all the colors of energy at the same point. Okay, so that's why black color became little bit of hot more than kind of like a rest of the color. Okay, yeah, get it. Okay, okay, then why, like basically the black color is not kind of like a simply absence of color, then we actually see in the black color. Okay, yeah, we actually see in a kind of like a person who's actually kind of like a wearing a black color, things like that. So basically I could see that color. So basically why this not a kind of like absence of color? Well, basically is this thing, the color that you are actually seeing, okay, the black color is not actually the black color that you are seeing, the black car, the black outfit, the black thing is not exactly black. There is a kind of like a mixture of multiple colors, so that's why it's not black. Okay, yeah, there is only one thing in the universe is completely black, is a black hole. Okay, yeah, because this is kind of like a black is this kind of like a the kind of like a hexacode of black is legit black, that you legitly you can't see, you can't see, because okay, what do you mean by you can't see? Like I can't see the black hole. Well, it's a very weird kind of like a sort of weird kind of like experience that you're gonna feel. Okay, yeah. Okay, what is actually that weird thing? Okay, imagine that कि you are into the event horizon. Okay, just kind of like something within a kilometer there is a event horizon. Okay, if you don't know what is the event horizon, there is a kind of like a boundary that when you cross it you cannot come back. Okay, even light cannot come back. Okay, that is called event horizon. Okay, yeah. So you are in the accretion disk. Okay, yeah. And probably within a kind of like a couple of kilometers there will be kind of like a some event horizon. Okay, yeah. But when you see, when you kind of like a very, you are very up close to the black hole, and when you try to see, you are just you like basically you just feel like that now there is a kind of like some energy that actually came out from you. You feel that thing, just like you just can't contemplate that thing. Okay, okay. If you wanted to kind of like a experience this thing, let me give you example. Okay, yeah. Go to the higher place, maybe top building or mountain or things like that. Okay, yeah. And what you have to do is that key look down. Okay, make sure that in your peripheral vision, do not kind of like a like a basically is this thing that can make sure in that particular frame, like when you're looking down, you are kind of like a looking down. Okay, yeah. And when you see look down, you feel something like like basically is this thing delusion. Okay, yeah. And that's why most of people are bitterly scared of that delusion, because it, what is exactly that delusion, what exactly it means, what is exactly that. Okay, yeah. In normal day-to-day life, okay, like a basically is this thing, the distance, like a, whatever the object that we are actually seeing around us are far less closer, like basically 1 meter, 2 meter, kind of like a 10 meter, or maybe just 100 meter, or maybe couple of kilometer. Okay, yeah. But still is this thing that we actually seen the layers of kind of like assembly objects, like basically is this thing, there is a kind of like assembly wall which is kind of like assembly 3 meter away from me, there is a highway which is kind of like a 2 kilometer away from me. Okay, yeah. I don't really see the delusion, because of that I could kind of like some sense of what kind of like a object is close to me and what kind of like object is far away from me. Okay, yeah. So I'm not getting that delusion, because I understand what is actually my presence and what is actually the object is actually closer and which kind of like object is near. And because of those comparison I could understand myself, where am I, and I kind of like somebody not getting that much illusion. And that kind of like somebody like that, and that kind of like a things that kind of like a make me stable, make me kind of like a see straight right, and kind of like a walk and run and things like that. Okay, yeah. Because I'm not getting that much illusion and things like that. Okay, yeah. In simple form, okay, yeah, like basically whatever you are trying to see, the light is actually reflect from that object towards you. Okay, yeah. So the distance between the light reflect from that wall to you and that highway to you is far less closer. So basically everything that you are kind of like seeing is just not laggy. Okay, what is actually lagging? Okay. Have you ever play any kind of like some online game? Okay, yeah. There is an online game we call, like if you wanted to play the online game, we have to make sure that low latency. Okay, yeah. What is actually low latency? A low latency means like that okay, when you kind of like a controlling some sort of character, and when you try to play that character, you need to know the environment. Okay, and that environment should supposed to be load very much fast. When that environment, okay, where was I, sorry. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, when you are trying to play that particular game, you need to know the environment. Okay, where you are, where is the enemy and things and that. So basically that environment should supposed to be load very fast, right? Yeah. For that kind of like assembly fast, so latency should supposed to be low. Latency means like that the lagginess that you feel, the latency is too much, then possibly you are facing lagness too much. That means you are kind of like assembly moving your pointer, you are moving the kind of like assembly the mouse pointer, but there is a kind of like assembly lag that you are kind of like assembly experiencing and things like that. Okay, yeah. Because of that key, the data is kind of like assembly online to computer, it kind of like assembly so too much, it kind of like a take too much amount of time to load and things like that. So you kind of like a feel laggy, and you kind of like feel that dizziness, like delusion. Okay, yeah, because you are trying to move, but the surrounding kind of like a things is not actually getting. Now in the game point of perspective, it's very common and it's kind of like a very considerable, because when you try to play, there is a kind of like some obstacles and resistance will always gonna happen, so you might gonna face latency and things like that. It would be kind of like a simply very common. You might not get that much delusion. Okay, you might not get that much delusion, but imagine that when you are kind of like in happening reality, means like that your surrounding is kind of like simply lagging, means like that your action is literally faster than the kind of like simply the reaction that getting. It create delusion, and that delusion is create when you see a object from very very far away. Very very far away means like the top of the mountain, or kind of like assembly top of the building and things like that. Top of the building would be kind of like a really good example. You just kind of like go to the elevator and make sure that you have to reach at least like a 50 floor above. Okay, yeah. And when you reach to that 50 floor above, and when you try to see the surrounding, it kind of like a feels that you try to see your action as literally faster than your surrounding, because the surrounding is kind of like like basically what I'm trying to tell you, the light kind of like somebody came from your eyes to kind of like go into the bottom and got bottom into your eyes. It kind of like somebody the lagginess that you are actually feeling. Okay, yeah. By the way, is this thing the lagginess, like basically that lagginess is so millisecond, but it kind of like a create the delusion. Your mind is not like a basically your mind is kind of like feel that, oh, that is a kind of like a lag. And that's why most of people are bitterly scared regarding about height, because they get that kind of like a delusion, and their mind is not really kind of like a simply contemplate that particular stuff. Okay, yeah. It actually happened more when you went to the space, because when you went to the space, there is no reflecting body. Okay, yeah, like basically when you are in the top of the building, there is some sort of kind of like a simply reflecting surface at somewhere. But when you are into the space, there is a millions of something, there is a non-exist, nothing really at all. So the delusion that you are getting in the space is so crazy, fucking crazy, dude, fucking crazy. But still, for that delusion not happen, the kind of like somebody helmet in kind of like over the peripheral vision, and kind of like somebody the heads on displays kind of like a design in such a way that it kind of like a show it something that nothing. Okay, because when you kind of like a seen nothing and kind of like a feel that key there's a delusion, then probably you might gonna vomit at the moment. Okay, yeah, whatever, it's a very wrong thing. Okay, but what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that delusion will gonna get even more when you are close to the black hole, because in the black hole you kind of like a scene, there is like I can't see like legitimately I can't see. Okay, legitimately I can't see, like, it just feel like that there is something is a kind of like a somebody pulling me in, and it's create very kind of like a, like basically even if you're still accretion disk, still you could feel that thing, and that feel that is kind of like a black color. This legit black color, that is a kind of like somebody that kind of like somebody absorb all the kind of like somebody energy and things like that, and this is kind of like somebody the power that you feel the black color. Get it, dude? What the fuck? I mean, 43 minutes I'm just talking shit, I'm not really talking about the question. The question is that if we could achieve 100% efficiency in renewable energy, then just talk about that. Now why are you talking about the black and shit and things and fucked up shit? I'm really tired right now. Okay, the question that I asked, the answer that I should supposed to be give it to you, I'm not actually giving the answer. I'm just kind of like talking all the kind of like a shit which is not really essential, but still. Okay. okay, so I have almost like a 44 minutes, so within a minute I have to be end this thing. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna continue. Okay, I'm really tired. Okay, my mother is actually calling me. All right. the if we could kind of like simply the in renewable energy sources, there is a kind of like simply loss of energies actually happen, because when the kind of like simply solar panels get warm and things like that, in the wind turbine there is a kind of like a lot of wind is kind of like a spill towards the turbine and things like that. So basically is this thing, we cannot create that much renewable energy and things like that. Okay, so basically is this thing, there is a kind of like a loss of energy, these actually happen, loss of spill is actually happen. Okay, yeah. So when the loss of energy is actually happen, we are kind of like assembly install lot of kind of like assembly solar panel and wind turbine and things and that and that and that and that. Okay, in this reality we are kind of like thinking that if there is a no kind of like assembly there is no spill happen, there is no loss of energy happen, then what would be happen, what would be that reality? If such thing happen, then probably is that thing we don't really require a solar farm, we kind of like assembly just install a kind of like assembly couple of kind of like assembly solar panel on the rooftop, which kind of like assembly had enough to kind of like assembly had enough to kind of like power the entire city. Yeah, entire city. Okay, yeah. Another thing is that if we could kind of like assembly 100% efficient, we could achieve the 100% efficiency in kind of like assembly wind turbine. So that means kind of like a wind can kind of like assembly run really faster, so we don't really require a kind of like assembly very big turbine and things like that. Okay, now another thing is that when there is 100% efficiency, that means like we could kind of like assembly creating so much amount of energy that in very less amount of time and very less amount of space. Okay, yeah. So because of kind of like assembly we are creating so much amount of energy and things like that, so we are not rely on kind of like a non-renewable energy. Because of that key, basically this thing renewable energy is actually available in abundant. Because of that key, basically these are kind of like assembly energy is actually available inside, like basically available, and kind of like assembly we could create that energy in kind of like assembly in very less amount of time, in kind of like assembly very less amount of space. So basically is this thing, the requirement of energy will kind of like assembly gone, and probably we could kind of like assembly light up the entire world and things like that. Okay, we don't really worry about kind of like things and that. As also is this thing that if you're not using any kind of like non-renewable energy, that means like basically is this thing that we are not kind of like rely on fuel and things like that. So if you're not using any kind of like assembly non-renewable energy, means like the fuel and things like that, so we are not creating pollution, we are not creating any kind of like air pollution, things like that, which would kind of like is really good. And probably there is no global warming, there is nothing really at all. All right, get it? Okay, so all these actually happen. Okay, if you wanted to kind of like google it, just do it and things like that. All right, it's been almost like a 56 minute, okay, 46 minute and 58 second. I have to end it. Okay, this is it. Thank you.